2-hour-plus affair in a blue-white Delver mirror match. Game 2 took a very long time. I happened to walk past that match. Both players had Moreland haunts. Both players had blade splicer tokens all over the place. The board got very convoluted. Thankfully, the other games took slightly less time, particularly when Loren was able to win Game 5 against Max with a Restoration Angel that has a sword on it that Max just had no more answers to. So he was able to move on. He then defeated Ronnie Rittner 3-0.
Yeah, I was watching the match. Ronnie Rittner chose to be leading. He was the bigger Delver deck. Was basically building up a force and trying to block for most of the game. He was being on the defensive of it, whereas Nolen was swinging for the fences, consistently doing plays, and was bringing in, swinging with Geist to St. Trapped, and then waiting for blocks and restoration angeling the Geist.
Right.
He was able to push damage very quickly and get a 3-0 victory.
Michael, it looks like, is going to be taking a mulligan here. Loren has an opener that has lands and spells, including a ponder. A couple of ponders, actually, and a couple of Seachrome Coasts.
So Michael Hetrick on the mulligan here, it appears?
Yes.
All right, and Michael
He's
Hetrick,
also on the play.
Yep, by virtue of being the number 2 seed overall. He has been on the play each round, as the 1 seed Shaheen Sarani was dispatched in the first round.
Yes. Loren waiting patiently. I assume he is keeping his hand.
Yep.
Michael Hetrick, we were discussing, most known for being Ship at Hala on Magic Online, but certainly making a name for him, an actual name of Michael Hetrick for himself in this tournament, as well as his previous Grand Prix finishes. He's going to lead with a Copperline Gorge on the Mulda 6. Loren has a Seachrome Coast with a ponder that shows Cavern of Souls, Vapor Snag, and I missed the last one.
I believe it was another ponder.
Was it another ponder? I do not know what that card is. Might be an island, actually.
Okay, that could be. Loren's already
yes, it is an island.
Loren's hand looks like it's already pretty heavy on lands. He's deciding to keep it as he still needs some lands. He's going to play more of a drawn-out affair.
Now, Loren, I think, has the gut shot.
Don't see a gut shot in his hand. Oh, yes, he does.
He does have the gut shot. He also has Dismember.
Yeah, and then this will get the gut shot.
This may be Vapor Snagged, but probably will be gut shotted.
Yeah, there would be no reason to Vapor Snag at this point. So 3 lands, Loren's going to shuffle these away. Remember, Loren only actually playing 1 gut shot.
Loren's going to shuffle now with his ponder. I haven't been able to peek. At Michael's hand. Looks like he has at least 1 other land in it. I see a checklist card, so either Daybreak Ranger or Huntmaster. And there's a Delver of Secrets from Loren and Gutshot.
Alright. So, the ponder at this point, Hetrick can only... So, looking at it from Hetrick's side of the board, Hetrick can only assume that the Delver is going to become a 3-2 next turn. But... Well,
it is Daybreak Ranger.
I guess, sorry, to be fair, he doesn't actually know that because it was shuffled. Hetrick has his main deck Daybreak Ranger, which is pretty good here. Daybreak Ranger is one of those cards that is often... I think it is in the abstract very good against Delver. A lot of times I'll see people boarding it in against Delver. It may not be as good in that capacity. Oftentimes Delver is able to... It's like it comes on a turn too late a lot of the time. But on this board state, since Loren's con with mostly a defensive sort of game, you can assume that since he doesn't have the Vapor Snag here, that the Daybreak Ranger should be able to flip and do a significant amount of damage.
Well, I see Loren does have a Dismember in hand.
Right.
So that will either be able to take care of Huntmaster or Daybreak Ranger, depending on...
What will likely happen is Michael, now with 2 flip cards in play, he's making Huntmaster, will attempt to flip both of his werewolves on 1 turn as a value play, and Loren will be able, which is still a dangerous proposition against Delver, but Loren will be able to blow that out if Michael does try to do it.
Yes. Loren, of course, either choosing not to or can not to, that was not well worded, but did not flip the Delver of Secrets. Had too many words in my brain and couldn't get them all out in a coherent order.
Sure.
So, pondering which creature he wants to... Oh, nope, he's going to get Taxian Probe.
Taxian Probe seems like a great call.
He fooled me there. There's another Huntmaster.
Yep. Another Huntmaster in the forest.
In the forest.
So the Huntmasters are oftentimes a red. I mean, Michael's deck essentially right now is playing like a red-green aggro deck. Though he's not playing red-green aggro, every card on the battlefield is seen in a red-green aggro deck.
Yes.
So from Lauren's point of view, you can just assume that that's what it is.
Well, they've seen each other's lists.
No, what I mean is like he can play as though it were
as
a red
though it were a red-green
Yeah.
aggro deck. Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Yes.
So yeah, in this situation, Lauren needs to make sure that he keeps a fair number of Huntmasters off the table. If a Huntmaster is allowed to continue to flip, it will get him. So using 2 spells, Lauren's going to get rid of the Huntmaster. And he's going to crash in for 6 damage. Offering a trade with Daybreak Ranger, Hetrick is probably, I would guess, I think he might accept the trade here. The problem is that he does only have 1 Huntmaster left, which gains him some life, but getting into a race here is very dangerous. You have to assume that Lauren, playing this way, has something else. Hetrick's going to try to keep the Daybreak, though.
Yep. Lauren playing a 3rd Seachrome Coast into play tapped, while Michael has 3 Copperline Gorges. The lands from Scars of Mirrodin making their presence felt. Format's definitely going to change a lot when those leave standard.
Well, I mean, they're among the best dual lands printed, really. Especially in older formats where games don't progress, the relevant plays are all in the first 3 turns. They are essentially dual lands.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen more fast lands in Legacy play. I saw Dark Slick Shores yesterday, I think.
I mean, they're a very good option. I think one of the problems with them is that fetches, and it's very hard to justify doing anything other than fetches and duels. So he revealed Ponder. I believe that means if he reveals it, he has to flip his card. I'm not positive on that. You may reveal it, so he's going to have to flip it. He looks like he wasn't entirely sure he wanted to, as this is going to allow Daybreak Ranger to shoot down Insectile Aberration.
Yes.
So a little bit of I think a little bit of a miss there by Lauren. At the point, I don't think Daybreak Ranger was totally on his radar because Lauren has a Snapcaster, and with the ability to snap and dismember, Daybreak Ranger was never really a threat if it got out of hand. But the problem is that you could play no spells with the transform trigger on the stack, kill it. He wasn't really worried about it killing something. Though the problem is if he does get a flyer, it actually does kill something in its current form, which is going to do.
It's also going to lose Lauren a lot of life if he chooses to Snapcaster or Dismember. He will be down to 10 against Michael Hetrick's red-green aggro deck currently.
Yeah, well, Lauren's going to have to find another way to deal with the rest of Hetrick's board. The Dismember pretty much has to be saved for Huntmaster of the Fells, so he's going to need to find a way to deal with Daybreak Ranger. If he does, this Geist should be able to take it home in just a couple swings. When I'm thinking about this Ponder, none of these top 3 cards actually deal with the second of the Werewolves, so I think he's going to end up shuffling it. Shuffling a Ponder always feels a little bit like a waste, but he's going to draw it. So he kept 2 lands and a second Geist. So as long as if he can get the first Geist to trade with one of the Werewolves as opposed to trading with the Wolf, that should also work really well.
I'm not sure how he's going to be able to do that. I suppose he could have Snapcaster Dismembered.
Right, so he's swinging here. Well, the Dismember is taking care of one of the Werewolves, but he needs to make sure... Yeah, so you mean waiting until the block with the Wolf and then dismembering the Wolf? The problem is that then he's used his method for killing one of the Werewolves and he's done something that wasn't a Werewolf. So essentially he's going to be left with 1 Werewolf still on Michael's side of the board, and Lauren's going to be in a position where he's going to have to try and race a Huntmaster of the Fells.
Yeah, that's not a winning proposition.
Well, Geist is great at racing, but not that good at racing.
So he's going to double block here.
If you signed up for Season 1 box number 5, your minute is about to start. Please come up to the...
So actually, by double blocking there, I think Michael really helped out Lauren's strategy.
I agree, yeah.
He was trying to play around the potential Vapor Snag, I would guess, but I think he's inadvertently given Lauren a very good position. Lauren replacing the dead Geist with Saint Traft. This is going to have to carry him the rest of the way. If you remember, he's drawing 2 more lands.
Yep.
Welcome to round number 5.
Michael's hand is Birthing Pod, Llanowar Elf, so he does have the end game possible in his hand. The Birthing Pod, very strong.
Yeah, so with Pod, Lauren will have to dismember in response to Pod coming down if he doesn't want Michael getting more Huntmaster of the Fells, which I don't actually think he can afford Michael to do that.
Yeah.
If Michael can chain up to 4, remember with the Zealous Conscripts play, Michael can chain 4 straight to 6. Alright, so they're all going to resolve. Michael's going to get to activate Pod, going to still a healthy life
13
total.
or 11?
Yeah, we believe 11. We'll get that. Okay, 9 after the pod. So it was 11 after the Geist swing. Now he's at 9.
I see.
And he's going to image the Geist.
So he was at 17. He took 4 from the Angel, is taking 4 more Phyrexian life loss, and is now at 9.
Right. Not too much Lauren could do about that. In this board state, the pod was a very good draw for Michael.
Yep.
Lauren has Moorland Haunt going. Daybreak Ranger can keep that down pretty well. An active pod is really hard for Delver to deal with, especially, remember, he has no way to get rid of artifacts game 1.
Yeah, Lauren got a little overexcited flipping the Delver. But
that one's coming back.
I don't think it mattered this game with the way the cards were drawn.
Possibly. The thing is that then Lauren could have snapcastered the Dismember at the Daybreak Ranger and started to push 3 damage if the Delver had flipped right now. With Michael at 9, that may have been a relevant play.
That's fair.
Remember, Lauren drawing a land this turn. He's going to draw another land this turn.
So he has a Moorland Haunt.
Right, and those things are going to
start doing work.
Yeah, they're going to start doing work right away.
Remember, Lauren has 2 Moorland Haunts. Oh,
and
my.
What a miracle. That's going to be...
That's our first Miracle Bonfire of this top 8.
And actually, apparently, I was talking to Michael Hetrick. It's his first Miracle Bonfire of the tournament.
Oh, wow. Saving it for a nice time.
Yeah. So I'll put Lauren to 2. That's why I had to run the chump
So Lauren does have 2 Moorland Haunts in play.
Yep, he has the double haunt going. This card is a land in his hand, as we already know. But really, any creature here... Okay, Zenith for Strangle Geist should be good enough.
I would imagine so.
Well, Lauren can double chump block.
Yeah.
Well, no, he can't even do that as long as Hetrick pods the Geist and can pod it into...
A 3 mana... Oh, into a Deceiver Exarch, possibly. I guess Deceiver won't really do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't actually do anything right now. I don't know, he can pod it into really anything.
None of his 3s can win him the game this turn that I can
probably
see.
Just get Borderland Ranger.
I would imagine that would be a good option.
Yusuf Bridges and Derek Crossick, please come to the Legacy stage.
Alright, so he has 3 creatures. Lauren Nolen drawing pretty dead. He does have a sort of War and Peace, but no, he'll concede. So Michael Hetrick up 1-0 on Lauren Nolen. First game there, I think Michael Hetrick wins it. I think he's a little bit of a favorite pre-board. I mean, obviously not too much of a favorite. He's playing against Delver. Delver has some very excellent draws. Let's look at what changes post-board, though. This is where the real, especially in a best-of-5 matchup, this is where the more important magic takes place.
Absolutely. Twice as many games post-board now. And I always find that players don't play test enough. And so if they don't play test sideboarded matches enough. However, I'm sure these two have. So sideboarding significantly more important in a best-of-5 final. Looking at the sideboards, Lauren has Tamiyo, Consecrated Sphinx, Phantasmal Image, 2 of them, 1 Sun Titan, which I think might be a possibility, actually.
Well, the cards he's going to like... So Phantasmal Image always comes in against Strength Geist decks. It's amazing.
He also has 2 Blade Splicers.
Those are also pretty... Against any green deck, I have to assume the Blade Splicers are coming in. One of the big changes about going from Geist of St. Traps to Blade Splicer has been a response to green decks. So I would imagine that comes in too. Consecrated Sphinx probably will also come in because Michael Hetrick actually has very little removal in his deck. Or at least... He will have some removal post-board, but still a small enough amount of removal that I think the Sphinx is good enough to be playing. So the question is, like, what will come out of his deck? I would probably, the 2 mana leaks will come out. Maybe even some number of Jataxian probes.
I would imagine these Sword of War and Pieces would come out.
Yes, okay, very good. Yeah, I missed those. The swords will definitely come out.
He also has a Mental Misstep in his board. I think that might come in to deal with mana guys, although it's pretty bad late game against his deck, as opposed to in the Delver Mirror when you can counter Ponders and Vapor Snag.
As long as you can make it live, I'm pretty sure it's a good card. There's enough things where I imagine he'll be able to make it live, just with the 8 targets.
Sure.
He'll also bring in the Divine Offering. It's a one-of, but is
But he can gain 4 life off of it, and it will also cut the legs out from Michael's plan.
Yeah. So in Michael's plan, Michael is not going to go with the Hellrider plan here. He stays on his regular plan. So he's been using that plan against the ramp matchups or against any Titan decks. He's been going with Hell Riders. What he will do here is he will board in his Stinger Fling Spider and 2 Crushing Vines.
Yes.
Even though he can assume that Loren will be boarding some swords out in this matchup, the Crushing Vine is still excellent against the flyers. That with Restoration Angel, it's pretty much an auto run in this matchup.
How do you feel about Consecrated Sphinx?
Well, he does need to have some big stuff to pot into, and Consecrated Sphinx is a fine card. The question is if there's other stuff he wants to get rid of. I guess Ether Adapts might be pretty weak in the matchup. He needs to have enough 3s. I'd take it or leave it on Consecrated Sphinx. I can't see... I guess I may like it more than Inferno Titan, but I'm not even positive about that.
I believe we saw him bring in the Kessig Wolf run against Jerry.
Yeah, actually, the Kessig Wolf run seems like a very good choice in the matchup.
Now, does he want to replace a card with it to be able to hit all of his land drops? Or
Well-
do you think that he wants to replace it with a land?
So usually when you put lands in your sideboard, you're replacing spells with them. If you want to have a land, if you're boarding in, say, a Kessig Wolf run for a colored land, this is just a general theory, so I'm not positive on this matchup, but generally when you're switching it for a colored land, the question you'd ask yourself is, can I just run this in the main and free myself up another sideboard slot? Sometimes there are actual matchups where you want to change your land count based on how the match plays out. Say, for example, if Hetrick's siding out mana creatures in a matchup, which he's not going to do here, but if you actually, for some reason, want more lands, then oftentimes you'll add your extra land as a utility land, because you're essentially, here, Kessig Wolf Run, you're treating it more as a spell anyway.
Right, and also he's going to theoretically be boarding into the second 6-drop,
Right.
so he'll have a much higher curve.
If he boards that in, he'll want to do that, absolutely.
And his deck is geared toward a long game anyway. Loren needs to take advantage of early pressure. If the game goes long, Michael is much better suited for the long game.
Yeah.
And so hitting all of his land drops.
It's interesting. If Michael has a pod down, he's better at the long game. One of the neat parts about Delver is that it has so much good tempoing potential with Snapcaster Mage that if Michael doesn't have a pod down, Loren actually is probably the favorite in the long game. Just between all the fact that, like, Delver never runs out of awesome things to do, but Rug Pod, when it doesn't have a pod, does. You know, Michael can run out of cards, and Loren really can't.
Yeah, when you're adding in a Consecrated Sphinx, maybe even a Sun Titan, he's added Blade Splicers and Phantasmal Images. He has much more of a long game than he did in game 1, of course.
Sure. All right,
so it looks like, is someone mulliganing here?
Looks like Loren just decided to keep, and so did Hetrick. So the turn 1 Ponder.
Into 3 lands. I did not see Loren's hand.
Yeah, it depends how many lands he has. 3
got
lands.
at least one other land.
Okay,
Loren did mull to 6.
Loren has a 2-land hand. Oh, so he kept a 2-lander. That does give him his White Source and a Moorland Haunt. Because the Moorland Haunt acts as a spell, it's probably a keep.
Yep.
And it is. So at this point, Loren's hoping that there's really no more lands on top of his deck.
After the 2 he knows about.
Yep. You know, he knows he's going to draw 1 more, and then he'd probably like to stop.
Loren briefly debating about whether he should bounce this Bird of Paradise with his Vapor Snag, choosing not to.
He's down on cards, and I don't think he's... probably not.
Michael, meanwhile, played a turn 1 Bird of Paradise off of a Copperline Gorge. He played a second one and then passed back to Loren. Loren now debating again about this Vapor Snag.
So the play of Vapor Snagging of birds usually is if Loren wants to tap out for something here.
Yes,
the
which
card
he has a
he's
Geist
most
in hand.
scared about, if he plays Geist, he'd be really scared that Michael's going to drop a Huntmaster. So the snag here is really to protect himself against the Huntmaster.
And I think that's a pretty good play.
It is essentially -1 card to do it, so like you have to make sure it's something you really want to do, because he's
Michael
already down
That's true.
2 cards from being on the play and the mulligan.
So Phyrexian Metamorph, the one
Yeah.
of, that's a problem.
The fact
He
that Michael was
playing
able
around-
to... Yeah, that was his game right there.
He was playing around Phantasmal Image, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, Michael...
Snapcaster Mage on Ponder here.
Yeah, Loren needs to reload and find another way to win. And his top of deck is very good. It's got a Delver in it and a spell to flip it, so he'll presumably draw the Delver this turn and then bury to... Yeah, he has a Thought Scour and a Gut Shot buried under it. So...
And we'll see a Delver of Secrets from Loren.
So here, at this point, he's hoping about no Huntmaster. I don't think it's going to work. I think there's a Huntmaster on the way. Well, that's the other checklist card. It's actually Daybreak Ranger, for the sake of.
If you're in the room,
From a distance, I assume all checklist cards are Huntmaster. It's not the
we'd like
case.
to get started.
Birds, Daybreak Ranger.
And there it is.
So once again, Delver not really wanting to flip. And he's going to go ahead and flip it.
He's going to
Does
flip
he have
it
a
anyway.
Snapcaster
He
Mage?
may. I didn't look at his hand. Oh, he has a Dismember.
Okay. And I like that play. Lauren's hand is kind of ill-suited for the late game right now, so he wants to have it more for the early game. He's going to Dismember, so sure. Just get everything. Take 6. Only deal 5, but, you know, grab good control of the board.
And a Moorland Haunt, which will make a token this turn.
Delver really such a versatile deck. It's games like this where I get really impressed with the deck. You know, he's basically he took a mull to 6, he burned a card on a Vapor Snag just for value, and now appears to be in control of the game.
That's right. Michael does not have any more flip cards in his hand. He is going to Green Sun Zenith though for a Huntmaster, presumably.
Yeah, almost certainly.
That's a pretty strong play. Not only because it adds to his board and it's part of his game plan, but Lauren was hellbent, and you know, it's a very strong card, so obviously it's a strong play all the time, but especially here, Lauren being hellbent and Delver not exactly having the best answers ever.
Yeah, Lauren. Ooh, and that.
So there's the Celestial Purge.
Really.
Speaking of answers.
Well, okay, so he's 1 land away from dealing with the Huntmaster, and if he can get Restoration Angel, he can flicker the Snapcaster and purge the Huntmaster. If he doesn't hit the land, he can flicker the Snapcaster and dismember the Huntmaster. Not as nifty, but good enough. He needs to keep the Restoration Angel in hand. The best part is because all of this is at instant speed, Hetrick can't actually pass the turn and flip the Huntmaster.
Michael down to 10 after taking 4 from Flyers. He will play a Forest for the turn. That puts him up to 6, so he can cast any spell in his deck.
Well, he does have a Birthing Pod here.
Oh, he does.
What that would allow him to do if he wanted, he can pod the Huntmaster into a Zealous Conscripts into an Inferno Titan. The biggest problem with that play is that it's an awful lot of life to do all that Phyrexian mana. With Lauren Nolen's actual his end-step Restoration Angel, Michael might not have enough life to actually afford to do that.
Michael still has another land in his hand.
All right, so he's going to go 4.
That's a lot of lands out of Michael Hetrick.
So he could pay 4 life,
but he's
go to 6. He's just going to go to 5.
He's just going to go to 5.
I'm bleeding for Stinger Fling Spider.
Yep,
and that'll get to Insectile Aberration. Really strong. It really blanks a lot of what Lauren has going on.
Stinger Fling Spider is not a card that you see a lot of play.
Sure, it's was a very high pick in M12 limited, but that's
true.
Right. 2/5 reach. When it comes into the battlefield, it plummets. It destroys a creature with flying.
Right.
Nolen, and I think correctly, lets his Delver die. He needs to save the Restoration Angel to snap a Dismember at the Stinger Fling Spider. He can't let Hetrick pod that spider into something better.
Agreed. Yes. So Lauren will add another spirit to his side of the board.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hetrick with a pod in the land.
The event starts at 4.
There's Stinger Fling Spider. 2/5 reach from M12. Restoration Angel is going to blink Snapcaster Mage, which will cast Dismember, taking out the Huntmaster, and 2 spirits will battle.
Lauren Nolen ahead right now. The problem is an active pod is just a very good tool against Delver. But Hetrick, only with pods and lands, I don't think he's going to be able to pull out of this now.
Attention Magic players, this is the last call to
Yeah, Michael drew a lot of lands this game, so it's not looking too good. Although he can jump up to 2 if he wants with this Birthing Pod, since he still has this Wolf token.
Yeah, he doesn't want to jump to 2 because he can't afford the life points of doing it.
Maybe he's going to.
All right.
This is probably going to be a Phantasmal Image.
Yeah.
Copying
On Restoration Angel. Can't be a play he's very excited about.
Yeah. Just a play out of necessity.
Well, the problem is that even when Lauren Nolen swings here, he's going to have to block the Restoration Angel. And he'll still go down to a dangerously low life total.
Yes, he'll go to 2.
Yeah, he'll go to 2 with an active haunt. There aren't many outs he's actually looking for.
But if Lauren does not have a way to get rid of the Phantasmal Image,
which he doesn't, he can't poke it.
He can untap with 2 Birthing Pods that have a 4 casting cost creature on the battlefield. So he will be able to
Yeah.
get a Zealous Conscript, stealing something.
With the Deceiver Exarch still in his deck and enough mana, he could actually get all the way up to 5. Oh, right.
The
It's
Phantasmal
currently-
Image
sorry, Phantasmal Image
is
currently
a
for-
Restoration Angel.
Right.
So he will be able to sacrifice it to get up to Zealous Conscripts.
Yeah, and
Then the
into
Zealous
Inferno Titan.
Conscripts will be able to sack away for an Inferno Titan, which can deal with all of the 1 toughness creatures on Lauren's side of the board.
Well, the biggest thing is what he probably do is he'll pod into the conscripts, steal Restoration Angel with the conscripts, and then pod the Restoration Angel into something.
Yes.
Into a Wolfear Silverheart, I would imagine. That said, well, if he's, I mean, that's still, I think he'd actually have to have a second conscripts for this to work. He'd have to pod the 4-drop into conscripts, stealing Angel, pod Angel into conscripts, then pod Angel into second conscripts, untapping Birthing Pod conscripts into Inferno Titan, and that would actually clear the board for him.
Okay, so Michael will go to 2.
We'll go to 2.
We'll see what choice he makes
Yeah,
this turn. He does have some play,
has
although
a
he did
land.
draw another land.
So if he has if he has 2 conscripts in his deck, I see something he can do. I think he has something he can do here. Outside of that, the problem is when he starts his pod chain, he'll be left without a flyer and will die to the Moorland Haunt tokens.
I don't know if he has any more creatures in his graveyard, though, Lauren, for the Moorland Haunt.
Right, he needs to be able to deal with the 2 flyers because he's at 2.
Yes.
So, but you're right. Yeah, Moorland Haunt actually is not just a 2-tap make a 1/1 flyer.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes
it does
it
not
feels
look like
it.
he has a creature in his graveyard. Michael pondering his options as we have for the last couple minutes.
I think
It's
depends
not an
on
easy decision.
I think it depends on whether he has an out only if. Okay, well if that's not an out, then he's going to have the only card he has that can answer the Restoration Angel, I believe, is if he has to pod it with. So he has to pod the conscripts and then
So
pod
he has
the
to
angel.
he has to conscripts it away? Is his best answer?
Well, the closer thing is he can by potting into. Yeah, I think he's gonna have to turn it into a conscript. If he has a second conscript, I think he's in this game. If he doesn't have 2 conscripts in his deck, then I don't think he has a way to get.
So he does have the Inferno Titan in his deck.
Right,
We saw it as he flipped past.
but he only saw 1 Zealous conscript, so I don't see a way for him to get it. And then again, he's much more practiced with the deck than I am, so I'm really
but
excited.
He's limited by his options.
Yeah.
And if he only has 1 conscripts, doesn't look like he's got a way out of Restoration Angel range.
All right, so conscripts.
There's
will
step 1. We'll see what happens now.
steal Restoration Angel.
Another thing he can do is he can... Nope, that doesn't work. I thought he could...
Well, he could steal Angel, pod it into Silverheart, and he can deal 8.
Yeah, but that's just not going to be good enough.
8 isn't 10.
Yeah. Not going to be good enough.
So he's going to steal Snapcaster Mage,
So that's going to go get a 3-drop.
which can get Deceiver Exarch, which can turn into a 4-drop, which would be
A Wolfer... Or not, yeah, a Huntmaster.
a Hunt
Gain
Master.
him 2 life. But he's still going to be dead to the flyer.
Well, no, he paused the Huntmaster. No, he can't. I don't see.
It's a very tricky puzzle here for Michael Hetrick that we're not even
Yeah.
sure has a correct answer.
Oh, I'm really excited to see what he comes up with. I can't solve this one.
I don't have it either.
I don't have one for him.
I'm just a simple caveman lawyer trying to make his way in the world.
If the Consecrated Sphinx is in his deck, that doesn't do anything either.
Yeah. Even if he has the Consecrated Sphinx, and draws a bunch of
Yeah,
cards.
all right,
Yep.
and he can't find one
He
either.
decides that there's no way out of this puzzle.
So 1/1, Michael Hetrick and Lauren Nolen. The one thing I like about the puzzle, the aspect of it, is that Michael knows that step 1 of the puzzle is going to be to get Zealous Conscripts. So at that point, he can look through his
Yes.
entire deck.
At that
and say,
point,
"All
he
right."
can take a look at his deck, actually have the puzzle in his hands to try and figure out what's going on. So we're going to move on to game 3 here. Michael Hetrick and Lauren Nolen tied at 1. With Michael on the play, do you expect any different sideboarding options? I don't believe I do. It's possible that he could bring in the Hell Riders for a more aggressive style.
Well, the problem is that you can't run Hellrider and Huntmaster at the same time. It's too much
And
the mana
Huntmaster's
cost.
too good against Delver.
It's too good against Delver. The only thing you could actually do if you wanted, you could board in 1 Hellrider but I don't even like that. Huntmaster is great here.
On Loren's side of the board, he's on the draw now. The mana leaks almost certainly are going to come out if they weren't out already. We saw Jerry's sideboard. He left in the Geists against Michael, which in one way was good, and in another way was bad. I mean, it really depends. It's really draw dependent, as are all things. But it was extremely dependent on, whether when Geist was amazing, it was really amazing, and when it was bad, it was horrible.
So he needs to make sure that he still has a way to win.
Yes.
Geist is excellent at winning. There's a couple dangers of it against Rug Pod. The first is that Michael's gonna get clones all the time. Geist isn't really hexproof in this matchup. Michael doesn't play kill spells, and all his kill spells are clones.
And Bonfire of the Damned.
So he's really on Bonfire. So doesn't actually protect itself all that well. If he is playing them instead of Blade Splicers, I would say that's incorrect. If he is cutting two, say maybe running all 6 might be fine. Cutting some of Geists for the 2 Blade Splicers in his board also seems fine.
The other difference here being that he does not have Hero of Bladehold in his sideboard as some of the players in the tournament were
Right,
running.
Jerry had that, and that card is just excellent against Michael Hetrick because
Yes.
he doesn't play removal, and that is a very aggressively costed card that is really good against decks that can't kill it.
And Loren does not have those, so he does not have that option. His aggressive stance is going to have to be behind Blade Splicer, Restoration Angel, Phantasmal Image, making all the golems kind of trick, which is what happened in Game 2 against Max Tietz in the first round. There was a board flooded with Moorland Haunt and Blade Splicer tokens that no one could really deal with.
Well, and the culprit really there has got to be Restoration Angel.
Yes.
The 3/4 body is just big enough in Blue White Delver that it's really slowed down the Delver mirrors. People are
Restoration Angel is absolutely the biggest part of the standard metagame. It's absolutely warped the metagame to its will. Loren is going to mulligan here on the draw.
Should be fine on the draw. I mean, obviously mulliganing is always terrible, but Delver does a better job with it than most decks.
Yeah, Delver very apt at being able to take over a game and not have to use all of its cards.
Yeah.
And even if he has to use all of his cards, Snapcaster lets you double up on spells, Restoration Angel lets you double up on spells, so Michael Hetrick's going to lead off with a basic Forest and Bird of Paradise. Meanwhile, Lauren Nolen plays Delver of Secrets off of his Seachrome Coast on the Mull.
All right, and Hetrick resolving the pod immediately. That's one of the scariest parts, which one of the scariest things that Rug Pod can do on the play. So remember, and a blind flip by Nolen is excellent, but remember what Pod does in this matchup for resolve Pod for Hetrick. Basically now, when I said we weren't sure who had the better late game, well now the answer is going to be Hetrick.
Yes.
So Loren is on notice that he has to win quickly, which, to be fair, Flip Delver is a great way to start that.
Loren puts Restoration Angel and Delver of Secrets into his graveyard with Thought Scour, drawing an island. He plays an island and Vapor Snags Bird of Paradise, which is much less impressive when there's already a Birthing Pod on the table.
Yeah, he's hoping that Hetrick's not going to slam a Huntmaster down on him. But I think the bigger problem is that if Hetrick does have a Huntmaster here, it's going to get Loren regardless. Loren hasn't kept his mana leaks in, so it's not like he can, I don't know.
It looks like Michael's other land in hand is another Forest. Yep, there it is.
There
he's going to play 2 mana animals.
The question is if he pods here. The 2 life is fairly real right now in the game, and I actually think I wouldn't pod. It's one of the few times I would spend a turn.
Oh, he's going
He disagrees.
to,
all right.
This Phantasmal Image, this is likely going to be a Phantasmal Image that is also likely going to be an Insectile Aberration.
Sure. It could be that or Strangleroot Geist.
Could be that or Strangleroot Geist.
The reason you may... Yeah, it's going to just be Strangleroot.
It's just going to be Strangleroot. So Strangleroot Geist getting in for 2, starting to put Loren on a clock, although Michael is under a much faster clock with the flipped Delver. Loren looks like he drew a Phantasmal Image for the turn, which is very good against the Strangleroot Geist.
Yeah,
he now faces down.
Yeah.
He also has Island, among other things. Moorland Haunt is in his hand. He is going to play Phantasmal Image. It's going to copy Strangleroot Geist and come in and deal Michael 5 damage. So a fast clock turned into an extremely fast clock from Loren, putting Michael down to single digits this turn. This means that the Birthing Pod has to activate for 2 for the rest of the game, of course. Loren also has another Vapor Snag in hand, it looks like to me, as well as Snapcaster Mage and Moorland Haunt. So those are his 3 cards. Bouncing the Bird of Paradise again, so keeping Michael off of both red and blue mana.
Right. Loren doing a great job of being the aggressive player here off this draw. And
Michael drew an unhelpful Birthing Pod this turn.
yeah, that's not even a card.
Showcasing the power of the card Delver of Secrets this game, because this game would not be nearly in Loren's favor if it was just
the turn one blind flips of Delver of Secrets, and we're not to say that people like when you play the deck, you'll expect this will happen every once in a while, because it does. You know, luck works that way. You will hit it, and it lets it transform into this very hyper aggressive aggro deck, which it's very like a 3/2 for 1 mana in blue. So far out there, this is why they don't.
Michael is actually going to use the 1 mana to sack away the Deceiver Exarch that untapped the Birthing Pod to go get Huntmaster of the Fells, which will gain him 2 life and put a wolf token onto the battlefield.
So I said before, like, this game's an evidence of why we don't print Wild Nacatls in blue. Blue can utilize them in completely unfair ways.
Yes.
You know, at least with green, you know, okay, they're playing a 3/3 for 1, which is great. Well,
Which are backed up by other
their turn 2
3/3s
plays
for
and be
1.
more 3/3s, but
Yes.
the blue is going to be mana leaks and, you know.
And other ways to impact the board state as opposed to throwing another guy at the
Right.
problem. So, yeah, it's a slight crossover in card identity, but
No, I mean it's a fine card, but yeah, it shows like
yes.
this is why typically blue's creatures are worse than other colors, because if theirs better, blue would be more unstoppable than it already is.
a Snapcaster Mage from Loren Nolen.
For Vapor Snag, just keeping the pressure on, it's
Vapor
really
Snag
good.
the Huntmaster back to Michael Hetrick's hand, putting him to 5. Waiting to see how he decides to attack here. He's going to come in with everything.
Yep. That'll
Dealing-
undie back. Presumably, I would say as Insectile Aberration.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a 4/3 Insectile Aberration. Putting Michael to 2. This does not look very good for Michael.
All right, let's see what he can draw here. He's going to need...
There's another Strangleroot Geist.
That's not going to help him either.
It's not a card that's going to answer this particular quandary.
If he's kept Ether Adept in, he can pod into Ether Adept to get rid of the image, but he's still going to die to the original Insectile Aberration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he stumbled. Loren was just a little too aggressive this game, and Michael stumbled for a moment, and that was enough.
Yep. And that's exactly what Loren wants. He wants early pressure and for the Rug Pod player to stumble on mana. Loren Nolen is going to take game 3, going up 2 games to 1 after losing the first game. So he has won both sideboarded games here.
Yeah, so we had a question from someone on Twitter on that last game where Michael Hetrick potted into the Huntmaster. Shouldn't it have flipped right away? Our answers were not positive about it. We'd have to rerun it. It is a question. When you pot into Huntmaster, not actually casting a spell that turn, I believe he cast another Strangleroot Geist that turn.
I believe that is what happened. Yeah,
but I don't want to say that exactly. If that's true, and then yes, it should have flipped.
Yeah, we aren't sure if the other Adept was still in the deck. However,
we don't know if Ether Adept was actually in the deck at this point.
But even if it was, he still had another flyer to be able to fly in for the last 2 points of damage. In any case, Loren Nolen is now up 2 games to 1 on Michael Hetrick. Michael Hetrick will be on the play for this next game.
Right. So Hetrick now on the play. He's going to have to win the next 2.
Yeah.
And I don't think he changes his board plan much.
I wouldn't think so. I think that he's seen a lot of success from the way that he's done whatever he did in the past. He's going to keep doing. I didn't see him sideboard very much in between playing and drawing in any of the games. I don't think I saw it. So Yeah, I think that he's just going to stick with his plan that he's been going with the whole time.
He's going to have to hope that Nolen doesn't get another turn 1 flipped Delver, which obviously he has no control over those games. So Rug in this matchup plays a lot like a red-green aggro deck. And the ways which it typically loses to it, well, it's a little different now. But one of the biggest problems it actually has is that when Delver flips a turn 1 Delver of Secrets, it actually does a very good job of racing the deck, as we saw there. Otherwise, Hetrick is typically better at being the aggro deck.
We have an answer about the flipped Delver question. It was snagged in response to the trigger that would have flipped it.
Right.
So while it did trigger, it did not end up doing its damage. Both players, you can see Michael taking a drink there. Both players are still, even though it's the morning and they've only been playing a couple rounds, it's been a long time.
Right.
I mean, they've been playing for 3 days. This is their third day of playing the same tournament.
These players are currently in their 5th hour. They started at 11 a.m. this morning, Eastern time. It's currently 3:40, so been a grueling match for them, especially Nolen going into a 2.5-hour marathon with Max Tietz in the top 8.
Yep. Especially Nolen is very tired. You can tell just by looking at him that he's a little less bouncy than he was in the first round.
And this is where actually, like at a tournament, and this may sound silly, having friends helps. Having someone who will run and get you food is one of the most valuable things.
Yeah.
If you find yourself in a premier event top 8, planning ahead of time, saying like tell a friend that you'll buy him lunch if he brings you lunch.
Yep.
It'll be the best $10 you've ever spent.
It's a little known fact that Magic is actually a team sport, and having a supportive team behind you it certainly helps. I mean, almost every PTQ winner, almost every tournament winner of any kind, below or above an FNM, is won by a group of guys working together. Every once in a while, you'll see one rogue deck designer who takes his own deck and goes into a tournament and wins like 2 or 3 in a row. But for the most part, Magic is definitely a team sport, and you definitely want to have a group of people behind you that will support you when you're doing well in a big tournament, that will play test the matches for you the night before, so that you can get rest.
We talked about that a little bit earlier. The best model actually is I remember when Andres Prost had top 8 at Pro Tour Philadelphia, he grabbed some of his friends and he bought everyone dinner. He went to bed, and then he said, "You guys figure out what I'm supposed to do tomorrow," and it turned out to be a very good deal.
So turn 1 and turn 2 Copperline Gorges from Michael Hetrick with no play.
And dangerous.
Yeah, Celestial Purge gonna flip.
Turn 1 Delver flip for Nolen.
That's right. So he's going to attack for 3. Nolen has a Phantasmal Image in hand, so if he wants to, he can go in the super aggressive. That's what he's going to do.
Hetrick has what red card is he hanging on to there? It's either Inferno Titan or
Bonfire?
I wonder, has he boarded in any of his removal spells? I mean, if it's an Arc Trail that
this is a 3-turn clock represented by Nolen here. He's going to get Crushing Vines, the non.
Yeah. So there's no way that's an Arc Trail.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have seen it.
Arc Trail would have been extremely good.
Right. To be fair, Arc Trail would have come down on the Delver immediately, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
So still a 3-2 though. Hetrick will drop to 14.
And here's a Geist from Nolen. Yeah, this is the type of game Nolen needs.
Well, it's a 3-power creature into a 3-power into a 6-power. It's
basically, yeah. But he needed Michael to not play a mana guy. He needed Michael to not have any game until basically turn 4, where he's playing this Huntmaster.
The best thing Michael can do is hope to tap out for the best cards at every mana cost, which is very close to doing. And if that doesn't get there, then he's getting not drawed is what's happening.
Now, if that other card in hand is the Inferno Titan, then that's a problem. But if it is the Bonfire, Michael can Bonfire for 2 next turn. So that's going to he's got
Purge
removal spells for both.
So that'll swing 9, putting Michael Hetrick down to 7. Threatening to end this really with a great draw here.
It looks like that is the Inferno Titan.
So he's gonna have to survive for 1 turn, possibly more.
He has a Bird of Paradise in order to throw under the tires.
Well, the bad news for Michael Hetrick is Noren's hand he's having a great curve. His next play, if he can draw land, is he has a Restoration Angel in hand.
Oh, wow. So I see there's a land for Michael Hetrick. I see it.
Probably going to grab another Huntmaster with the Zenith.
That is most definitely an Inferno Titan. in Michael's hand, so he does not have the bonfire. He has a Green Sun Zenith to be able to go and get whatever he so chooses. Looks like a 3-drop.
All right.
If he wants.
Yeah, at 3, he's going to go for Daybreak Ranger.
Yeah, and that's going to guarantee that he gets the land for the Inferno Titan.
Right. What he's going to have to do with the Daybreak Ranger is actually, though, the problem is he's dead to a whole bunch of things right now. He's going to get Borderland Ranger.
Yes.
Is that he's going to have
Borderland Ranger.
If Lauren swings, Michael has to run the line of chumping with birds, trading with Borderland Ranger.
Yep.
If Lauren can draw land for this Restoration Angel, I don't see. Yeah, there we go. Snapcaster, Dismember.
Bird, and that's the game.
That's the
Lauren
game match
Nolen
and Invitational
is your Invitational champion, Lauren Nolen.
So Lauren Nolen, yeah, certainly not the biggest name in this top 8, but ended up pulling through it, and certainly will make a name for himself now. Lauren defeating Max Teets in the top 8, 3-2, defeating Ronnie Rittner 3-0 in the semifinals, and in the finals defeating Michael Hetrick's Rug Pod deck 3-1. He is your Star City Games Invitational champion.
Yeah, truth be told,